on. Drew, you're trending on Twitter.
Listen,
You're trending on Twitter.
these things happen.
I mean, Variety posted Judita's question to Wes Anderson, which you saw earlier. And I think I watched that video 3 times because for me, I was like, there were so many dynamics to the question, which is even I was like, like, where do I begin? How long, like, at what point did you know this was the question I was going to ask?
Probably like when the curator gave me the microphone, because prior to then we didn't know if we'd get a question in because there's so many A-listers, everyone wanted a question. And then she just pointed to me. The next thing I know, the assistant gives me the mic and this thing, and I was looking. And then she looks at me and goes, "You do want a question?" I was like, "Oh gosh, yeah." And I was thinking, like, there was one question I wanted to ask. I was like, "That's not necessary now. I'll ask something else." And then it came to me, and everything just gelled in my head. But then as I was talking, it's kind of like my personality would come out, but I have to also like reel it back in. So that's why it seems very conversational, because I'm in my head as I'm doing it. But I knew the point I wanted to get across. Where does Wes Anderson fit in the landscape of film today?
Now, the key thing is, I think one of the reasons why they were really stunned is you need to know who Wes Anderson is to have asked that question. Yeah. And oftentimes we get very, very cloudy questions, fluffy questions, exactly. Like, oh, tell us about your inspiration, or what was it like working with Scarlett, or what's it like being a woman in this climb? But when you get a personal question like that, Wes Anderson was actually proper stunned. Did you see the guy that was just like, thumbs up?
That actually means bit because I think he's Francis Ford Coppola's nephew.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage's cousin.
You're probably going to tell them about you when he gets back. Like, haha, guys, I saw this report at Judita. But really though, the reality of Asteroid City, after all the zhuzh and the excitement of it, does it really like live up to expectations from Wes Anderson?
I think it's like one for me. I think there are too many famous people in the cast, so some people just could have been replaced with like a basic actor because their role wasn't necessary. But one thing I have to say about Wes Anderson, it's very him. He doesn't waver in as far as his vision, his point of view, his style. It's very him. And in this world, you want an artist with a signature. You know a Scorsese film, you know a Spielberg film, you know a Wes Anderson film. And now where everyone is kind of homogenizing because they want to go with what formulaically works, that's what makes him, Wes Anderson, really important, more so than ever now. And that's why I needed to ask that question, that does he also realize that there may not be another one? Because come the next generation, everyone's just going to be beige, and there may not be room for another Wes Anderson to breathe.
But you know what I'm also thinking in terms of age difference? Everyone you've mentioned significantly older than Wes Anderson, if we're being honest. When Anderson is in his 50s, if I'm not mistaken, 54. So he still has time. He still has time to get to a Tarantino level where he's saying, after this, I'm done. Or Martin Scorsese level where he's found that one person that is the yin to his yang, and all his movies are just like, listen, I want you on board.
Jason Schwartzman, they've been together forever.
Look at that. So he has time to really like probably even groom somebody else, maybe?
You never know. He's such a unique conundrum of a human being and a creative that I think that's why him and Jason work so well, because their weirdness just complements each other. And it's so hard to find somebody that you artistically jive with. When you do find that person, you kind of hold on to them like a life jacket. It's kind of bittersweet because you're thinking to yourself that in 5 years' time, who will we be talking to that makes you feel that way, like a Scorsese, that makes you feel like a Wes Anderson? I don't know, because there's no heir apparent.
I have an answer to that. Now, do you think of it this way? You know, you did American film as a major.
One of my modules.
One of your modules, exactly, was American film. And American film is evolving. Look at what we were discussing yesterday with Musa Alderson Clark about how social media is now becoming a space where literally everyone is blowing off of. I am almost stunned at the fact that you have people who are popular on TikTok, and this is enough prerequisite to give them a lead role in a film. Yeah. That's where film is going. So who knows? The next look at how we were just talking about how a lot of the people with the priority badges are influencers. Are influencers. So that's where Cannes is going. Cannes is going to a space where it's no longer just about the grittiness and the true depth of film. It's, listen, what are people hungry for right now? Where is the market? And the market is on TikTok dancers and influencers. says filmmakers are now going to start thinking towards these problems, towards the issues in these influencers' lives. And that's what's going to be the crux of filmmaking. Who knows? Cameras might even become still. People will start shooting movies on their phones.
No, but the key is this, is that even though that is where it might go to as far as the mechanics of how film is made, what will be the quality of those films, which is the essence of what all these conversations are about, is it's not just the film has been made by this person. It's an entire creative and artistic process that is filmmaking. That's why I always talk about auteur filmmakers as opposed to just directors. It's art. These are artists. A person with a phone trying to get attention is not an artist. You're a mechanic for sensationalism. That's what you are. You're not an artist. So even though I credit them, they can see where the future is and they're trying to embrace it, but they must sustain the essence of what it is, because what you're protecting is probably an elemental part of human nature, which is what it is to create and to bear something from within that is greater and goes beyond. I'm sorry, you and your mobile phone just aren't that and never will be able to. You will simulate the mechanics of filmmaking, but the essence of what it is to tell a story, you will not do.
You know how we were talking yesterday, and it's funny because it's almost like you are reiterating something you said yesterday. You know, when we were talking about Death Becomes Her, and then you said there's no way that we can have such, it cannot. Exactly. So what if the films that we're talking about now, there's no way they can replicate them, because time just evolves. People get more distracted. When Death Becomes Her came out, social media wasn't this crazy. People didn't have as much inspiration. You literally had to look within. But the world is evolving. There's so many more distractions. People are literally walking on the palais and they're on their phones. They're not even looking where they're going. The world is just distracted. So the reality is, in a few years from now, we will say, yeah, they can't do a movie like this, Martin Scorsese's film, anymore, which is why these people are in their 70s and still churning out work.
Because you realize that, wow, where the world has gotten to now, it's not where we predicted. It's like, I was talking about this with Faith, and she was saying that probably when Scorsese sought out his next Italian-American talent in Leonardo DiCaprio, he probably thought that Robert De Niro would have retired by now and he would probably be slowing down. But then when you look at what's around you, you think, why isn't there somebody telling the stories that I don't need to tell, because they're in that space, the way you took over from the generation before. So you're right, things will be different, but that different times may not be as inspiring, as respected, as accomplished as what we're seeing now. So that's why there's always this heartache I have that I'm bidding goodbye to something that will never be replicated, even in an alternative iteration. It just will be done. Like when we lose Coppola, when we use Eastwood, when we use Ridley Scott, when we lose De Niro, Pacino, once they're gone, that kind of filmmaking is gone.
That's really sad. But then I see like a window here, a space for people to now emerge and see how they can create their own greatness from what's available. Because if you think about it, if these people are actually gone, then the standard shifts. Because then that's the thing, you would have people set a new standard, which is what Cannes is. In what world do you have influencers getting priority passes at Cannes Film Festival?
That's true. That is a good point. We live in it, as far as press, we live in a different world now.
Actually, they don't even care about it.
They're like scraps.
Yes, scraps. Let's go, journalists.
Sorry, normal internet, not social media. Move. Yeah.
And literally, look at the press room, for instance, right? You have journalists from around the world sitting here every day. They are typing, They're writing stories. These are the stories that you would see out there. You would read them. You would be amazed by them. But guess what? They have blue badges. And the ones who just feel like kick with their phones have...
I know the most frustrating thing is they come 5-10 minutes and then leave. You got a seat with Scorsese.
Let's talk about that.
Same thing happened with Wes Anderson. You got a seat, and you saw how long the queues were for people who didn't get in, and then you left, and they have this policy that once the press conference starts, you can leave, but you can't come in. So no one can come and replace you. That chair is just empty. It offends me to my core. But that's what I mean about who we're handing over to. When you realize there's this vapidity to the generation that is coming, that's what's most terrifying, because they do not respect or hold dear all the things that made the generations before them remarkable. And that's just tragic.
That is tragic, but let's be happy, Drew. Let's be hopeful.
Okay.
Let's be hopeful. What is the good thing to take away from this? Not for nothing, I am excited for the new talents. Look at Ty Sheridan, for instance. Look at what he's doing. Look at Mai Wen. There are a few people under the guidance of these veterans that have the hope of becoming those that we might not have anymore because they're being guided. Although I don't know if Leonardo DiCaprio is about to... No, Drew, but think about what Martin Scorsese is doing with him. He's clearly forming a bond. He is not. I keep telling you this.
Listen, all roads lead to Leo in her head. But seriously, on a serious note, that you are right. It's going to be a new day, a new dawn in time. I don't know where our place as press is going to sit within it, but we will have to navigate that as the years go by, same as Cannes. But that's part of the fascinating and terrifying aspect of the filmmaking business, is change will come and you must embrace it or fall by the wayside.
100%. The good thing is, at Arise News, we defy generations when it comes to things like this. So whatever it is, just bring it on. Bring it on. If you want us to do influencers, Judita and I are going to learn the latest TikTok dances. Right?
No.
Say yes. I need the world to hear you say yes.
No.
Judita, you will do this.
No. Okay, this is the thing. The TikTok dances can happen. I will silently judge you from the side. That's what I'll do.
Actually, that's valid. Because that's valid. That's actually what you do.
Oh my gosh, that is what I do. I judge so well.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
She's like shameless. I cannot believe who asked you to run. Check out my Instagram for that particular comment. But hey, let's...